you don't make as much money.
Okay, it's 7:01. We'll call this meeting to order. If everybody could rise for the pledge of allegiance and the invocation.
Almighty God, our Heavenly Father, we come to you at this time, thanking you for the blessings you have given us, for this opportunity we have this evening to conduct the business of the county, that things that we say and we do that be for the benefit of the whole community. We'd ask you to continue to be with us. For in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anybody signed up for comment, Jill?
There was not.
Okay, we'll move to item 2 then, approval of the minutes, which were emailed. I don't see them in our packet, but they were emailed. I don't remember reading them. I didn't remember seeing any changes.
I breezed through them. I don't see them in our packet either, but I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Nobody or somebody?
Motion by Terry,
Second, Brian.
second by Brian. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, courthouse security. Who's representing the transfer for them?
I don't see anybody here from courthouse.
Oh,
Guess you
I guess
are.
you are.
Okay, so they have requested a transfer of appropriation of $479 from their county general budget line for education to move it to repair and maintenance.
Did they say what they were repairing?
Let me look at this. It just says transfer to pay for maintenance of equipment. I'm assuming it's probably their scanner
Scanners or
system.
something. It's about the only equipment they kind of have, isn't it, I think?
Okay. I would ask him next time to at least put
Yeah.
something more specific, especially if he's not coming.
Sure.
I'll entertain a motion on that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll make the motion.
Second by Terry.
Second, Terry. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I know why he's not here. He's downstairs.
Well, I know. I understand that, but
He should have had somebody come up or write something down.
yeah, at least write something down so we know what the heck he's fixing. Okay, Bob and Thomas. Or Bob and Tom.
No.
That's not the first joke that time that joke.
No.
We'll just call you Tom and Bob.
Okay. Tom and Bob here from Emergency Management. Item number 4, tonight EMA is requesting a transfer of an appropriation of $232 from the 1152 fund. That's the Emergency Planning Right to Know fund. And this will come out of education and training and be placed into miscellaneous equipment. The equipment we purchased is to be in compliant with what I passed out on your desk. It's called House Bill 1167. And this House bill was adopted May of 2023, and the state gave all the local agencies 2 years to become compliant, and it goes into effect July 1st. So since we're considered a government agency, same goes for this room. We're going to try to live stream our meetings, our advisory board meeting, and our LAPC meeting. If we don't get that accomplished, we're going to record it to our hard drive and have IT upload it to Facebook and provide that link. You can also search for it on Facebook. YouTube?
YouTube.
Okay, I'm sorry. Don, you want to tell them about
Yeah,
that?
so what we're going to be doing to kind of lessen the workload on IT department, we're actually, instead of live streaming the meeting, we're actually going to just upload it into the X Drive, and then we'll let IT know when it's ready to go, and they will upload it for us on YouTube. And that's just one less department that needs a live stream something, because technically we don't have to live stream it, but we're choosing to upload the videos because we're committed to do that. And so we're going to upload those videos, the advisory board and the LAPC meetings both. And those will be able on YouTube. And then what we'll do is, when we first do that, we'll do like one post on Facebook, let people know that's on there, just so the public is aware that's on there, and then after that, it's up to them to find.
Okay, on the funding side, the total cost of the camera, the mini computer, and the microphone was $1,431. I didn't quite have enough appropriated in my equipment line, so that's why I'm transferring $232 out of the training line. And right now, we have an operating budget of $22,425. This is the LEPC fund, 1152 Community Right to Know. It's not coming out of general.
Okay. Where does these meetings take place?
The EMA office conference room.
Okay.
And you're welcome to attend. Might even put you on the board.
I'm on a few boards.
Keith comes.
I'll make the motion to approve this transfer.
Second.
Second by Keith. So motion by Brian, second by Keith. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, council.
Thomas,
Thanks, guys.
I have a question, because somebody might ask me, and I wouldn't have a clue how to answer it. If somebody, let's say they missed a meeting or they're not, is there a way they could, I would call her tape, but is there a way to, hey, I missed this meeting a month ago, can I view that somehow? How-
Yeah, that's why we're gonna upload that video on YouTube, and then, so we can provide that link to them directly to YouTube.
Oh, you can say, oh, go back here, find
Yeah, and they
YouTube,
can-
and pull this up, and
It'll be dated and everything.
from 2 months ago or whatever.
Yep.
'Cause, okay, that's,
Just like
I
searching for
thought,
this.
but I wasn't sure how to tell her, but perfect.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks,
So is that
everybody.
correct?
To clarify that, by state law, we have to keep it for 90 days.
90 days.
And we will keep
Okay.
it 90 days, then we own YouTube, the Huntington County official YouTube channel. We currently have a county commissioner channel, playlist, and we have a county and a commissioner playlist. And they all side on live, and we're gonna make one for the EMA, so they have their own playlist, but all videos are displayed. If you search for Huntington County on YouTube, it'll be right there.
So that'll be longer than 90 days then?
It will be up to each department.
Well, I was just thinking of something.
Right, but what it is,
Within a week or two, they can find
yeah,
it.
we will have minimum 90 days, and after that,
Yeah.
we will make it private.
Sure.
But it will still be there.
Okay.
And then it will come into the public request. They want to say they needed for a year ago, they will request it. We will send them a personal link that they can go down and
Understand.
whole stuff.
And that's the biggest thing, if somebody asks how
This is
they
still-
can find anything
This
they
is still, we
missed.
haven't
Correct.
set this right here, but we, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, we're starting early with these, we can work out all the little kinks and stuff.
Sure.
Well, that way it shows it's always there, people can look at it.
Correct,
And
and,
the meeting was open and all
yeah, and
that.
like Jude Sweet said, if someone said they can't find that meeting, I can go back, or he can go back.
Sure, somebody can help them like you
I can
guys.
Hit the little share button and hit the copy for the link and send it directly to their email.
Because sometimes when people call me, it was something that happened a month or two ago, and they have questions, I don't know.
We might just leave it open too, we don't have to make up our mind. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
But either way, if somebody got a hold of, or I called Tom or Bob, and say, oh yeah, hey, we can get that for that person, here's their thing, and you could, here's their email, could you, so that's all I wanted to know. You guys can do that, and that's all that counts. As long as they can find it and have a question, they can get it.
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. I'm just a little dumb about that stuff.
We're gonna try to do anything that's in here is mandatory to do it.
Right, right,
Yeah.
Or record and upload.
And upload.
But I wanna verify that with the county attorney, that we're allowed, because sometimes we have two meetings at the same time, you can only live stream one at a time. But I think if we record it and then upload it, it's not live, but people can go back after the fact and still
Sure.
listen to it. So I didn't do any input, do it live and put it on comments.
Right, okay.
Perfect, thanks.
Heather?
Heather Malone, Chief of Probation. I have two items. Item 5 is an appropriation of $126.74. This was due to 2 checks being issued out of a fund that we no longer have. And they had to reissue these checks, and when they did it, they realized that we no longer budget for travel or mileage out of county general. We do it out of a user fund. So we are just fixing that issue. The auditor will reissue the checks, and we will pay them out of our overtime. The checks Money. have already been reissued. Okay. They were over 2 years uncashed, so the commissioners asked us to reissue them. And when we did so, our software automatically pays it from the same fund and account number it was paid from originally. And like Heather said, she doesn't budget in that account line, so that's why it went in the red. So
Okay,
she's just transferring that appropriation.
okay.
Motion approved.
Second.
Terry,
John.
John, any other discussion on the transfer? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
Item 6, Judge Smith isn't here tonight, obviously, so it's just me.
okay.
I'm requesting a transfer of $2,246 out of our fiscal year 24-25 Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative Grant, which we call JDAI. And we are moving money from our food line item just to travel for a conference.
I'll make a motion to approve
Okay.
transfer of 2246.
Okay. Motion by John, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Shane. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, I have one other item. We have our drug court graduation on Wednesday, May 7th at 4 p.m. And you all are invited to that.
May 7th?
May 7th at 4 p.m. in Judge Newton's Superior Courtroom. We have 3 drug court graduates.
Nice.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks. Keep getting them through those
Next up is
graduations,
Mark.
that helps.
Yep, Mark.
Well, good evening. I'm here this evening in my capacity as the recording secretary for the council's Tax Abatement Advisory Committee. As you all know, tax abatement in Indiana has been an economic development tool since 1977 and has been used very, very effectively throughout Huntington County to assist with business development, while also creating revenue streams for the various taxing units. The Tax Abatement Advisory Committee met on April 10th to discuss a new Statement of Benefits, Form SB1, if you will, filed by Docks Crane and Rigging of Roanoke, and I want to welcome and thank Ryan Bonebrake, Operations and Office Manager Director at the company, for joining us this evening. He's available if you have any particular questions. The committee is recommending that County Council approve the phase-in of the taxes for the company with a 5-year deduction schedule, with the first 2 years being at 100%, year 3 being at 80%, year 4 at 60%, year 5 at 50%. That process, especially with the committee and on behalf of the company, they needed to start the process with the SB1 prior to the state's work on changing property taxation. With the construction season quickly approaching, if not in fact here, it's very critical for a construction company to just move forward as aggressively as they can to remain competitive. The SB1 and the consideration, everything that we're discussing has been prepared, presented, assuming the property tax laws as of January 1st, prior to the work of the General Assembly and the Governor. The SB1 discloses an investment planned of $2.2 million. The company currently employs 17 individuals, supported by an annual payroll of a little over $1.5 million. The SB1 discloses that the investment would retain those positions and create 3 additional new positions, supported by an addition of $286,000 on their annual payroll. Altogether, company-wide, new and existing positions averaged out reflect an hourly rate of just over $40 an hour. Very solid wages in our county. Again, because of the seasonality, the SB1 was submitted timely, but also subject to knowing what the General Assembly was going to do. So the committee is asking the County Council, encouraging the approval of the SB1 as though there were no changes to property tax law. A 5-year score. I've also handed the County Council documents that help you understand the various models that we've looked at in coming up with those recommendations. Had it been there's a model there for the traditional 10-year state recommended abatement, which, again, the numbers are all subject to the assessor's work. These are for modeling purposes only, based on a software algorithm prepared by Baker Tilly Municipal Advisors. But you can see, in essence, that the Jasper schedule, which is what the city of Jasper actually uses, is more aggressive than the model that the committee has agreed to. But we, in our reaction in discussing the situation with the company, the taxpayer savings in what's referred to as Mark's model compared to the net property tax payments accomplish a couple things. The company gets the benefit faster, the county gets revenue faster, assuming the old statutes. And then the request, in addition, if the council chooses to support the SB1 and the committee's recommendation, is to footnote that discussion by saying if we find out that the new system is actually more generous to the company, that we don't want to hold them back from a benefit that they would have been able to receive had the investment been able to be scheduled later. I'm not quite sure how to say that in a motion, other than basically to suggest that approve or disapprove of the SB1 as stated, with the understanding that we don't currently know exactly how the new tax law, effective July 1st, will end up affecting this particular request. And it's not the county's
I
perspective.
don't think the latest one I read does.
It shouldn't,
I
but
think because it's more on the tail end of
Yeah.
the property taxes as opposed to the front end.
but we wanted to make sure that was in the discussion
Sure.
this evening.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, with that, I'm happy to address any questions you may have, or John, as committee chairman, anything you want to add?
No.
Brian, thank you for being here.
I'll make a motion to approve the SB1 as presented.
Okay. Second. Motion by Keith, second by John. Any other discussion?
And that's also tied to resolution 2025-04.
Yeah, where it's 100, 180, and whatever.
Resolution.
100, 80, 60, and 50, which looks like you need to fill out in the resolution to
Right.
match.
I
Yep.
didn't want to fill it out without
Yeah.
knowing that's
Yep.
what you're
That was the
proposing.
intent, correct? You guys made the motion, I just want to make sure. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Thank you.
If I could,
Yeah, go
before
ahead.
Mark goes away, I ended up having to be out of town late at the Lime City meeting, so I wanted to pull on his leg and say, could you
Oh.
give us a brief of the Lime City meeting?
I have a handout
real
that was
kind of brief.
distributed at Lime City. Same page.
Okay.
Explain that as you go.
The Lime City Committee was fortunate to be hosted for their April meeting at Sortera Technologies at the Markle Industrial Park. If you're right along I-69 going southbound especially, you drive immediately by the building on the right and you can't miss it. We spent a lot of time at the meeting, both learning about the company, who is making another investment of $15 million in their operations. But we also spent some time going through the history of both the fiscal impact and the development of the industrial park itself, which is, in essence, the math is summarized here on the one-page document. There are 298 acres comprising the Markle Industrial Park that currently supports 7 employers, 562 employees. And I point out in the document in that first section, the real property tax assessed valuation, if you use today's per acre cost, et cetera, as defined by the General Assembly, the real property tax AV, had it remained agriculture, would have been roughly $680,000. But because of the development that's taken place, that number, the current real property tax AV is $31,491,600.
A little bit of a difference.
A little bit of a difference. In the next section, the real property tax revenue comparison is as noticeable as well. Had it remained tillable acreage, the annual property tax revenue off of that 298 acres would have been, just about $14,000, as opposed to the $811,727.68 in real property tax collections, 23 pay 24, I should footnote. In the business personal property tax assessed value in comparison, I'm not able to do that for ag, but you can see what it does for the, with the 7 employers, and the annual business personal property tax revenues that are collected. So the current total annual property tax revenue, 23 pay 24, was $854,853.42. In addition, the 562 employees contribute local income tax payments of a little over $161,000. So for the direct total annual revenue stream, it's a little over $1 million a year in property taxes.
43,000 on business personal property, is there a lot of them under abatement? That just seems awfully light.
They're what?
Are they under abatement? Are they?
Some of them are under abatement
Because that
because,
just seems light for me.
Yes.
That just seems like a light number.
so that number could be even higher. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I shared with the Lime City Committee at length was the fact that the park itself, as it appears today, would not have existed or developed at least the way it did with numbers like this, except for the fact that when John Hacker was a member of county council, he was on HQ's board, joining Tom Wall from the commissioners. HQ held option agreements on the Bevan Best Farm, Family Farms acreage. Those option agreements also were part of, it was like Bevan Best, Jim Davis, and Jim Wilhelm and Jerry Henry were the 4. I'm missing, Warpup's Farm was the next section north. And so we had option agreements at HQ on the best farms at the time when I started at HQ in 2008. And that option agreement was like for a very small price per acre to have the right to sell it or buy it at $10,000 an acre. And that option was getting ready to expire. Tom and John pigeonholed me after a meeting and said, you know what, that number, if you renew that option agreement, that price per acre is not going to go down. So Tom and John, we all worked together and got a grant from the county to actually exercise our own option and purchased 53 acres as a result. That later became Nove's Plant 2 and Nove's distribution center, as well as then we sold acreage to Dayton Freight, and that filled up our current interest at that time. We worked with the Warpup Farms folks and got an option agreement to get shovel ready on the next section, which then became the next plant of Nove and the RTT Spec Holdings Company spec building. But it was it was an interesting discussion. Everyone was on the same page. The county knew full well that in order for this to work, it was going to end up being annexed into the town of Markle. So that even though it was in the county, you had the direct opportunity on the AV, but we didn't have the infrastructure. The infrastructure came from the town. Jeff Humbarger, Mark Hamilton, and Jeff Stockman were the town council members at Markle that saw the importance of working together, and they did. They were very kind and generous throughout the whole process. And I'm oversimplifying the risks that everyone took. Right? You know how big of a risk it is when you're venturing that kind of capital at the county level to acquire real estate. It needs to develop quickly, and we were fortunate that it did. but I wanted to make sure we had guests there from the town government at Markle, as well as the county and the business community. And in front of the folks from Sortera Technologies, I wanted to tell that story because it's so important about demonstrating the cooperation of all the units of government and how that can benefit overall. And in this case, the numbers that I'm aware of, which could actually be higher, to Kendall's point, the numbers I'm aware of are really, really encouraging. So thank you all for listening and for what you've done to help. And
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
Yep.
Well,
Appreciate the explanation.
okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Kendall, you want me to say anything about the?
Oh, so, yeah, go ahead, yeah, just give a brief overview of the.
Yes, so at the request of the board of directors, with the encouragement of the commissioners and the city, we commissioned a report with BCS Management Group out of Fort Wayne that is, in many respects, for somebody that's into electricity capacity professionally, this is pretty basic information. But it's really helpful from my perspective as a practitioner to first of all have, like on page 4, the key terms and electrical concepts defined: volt, watt, kilowatt, megawatt, kilowatt hour, megawatt hour, because it distinguishes between a consumption reference versus a capacity supply terms. So, one term is how much capacity can an electric utility provider generate, and then how much are you consuming? In addition, we talk about in detail, the grid and transmissions, power generation, power transmission, and then how it gets from the substations basically to our outlets and lights. And there's a little bit in there about the energy consumption percentages within the community and the county, residential, commercial, industrial, transportation, and the various percentages that they consume. And then also there's a map of the national grid systems. We're on the PJM system, and there's a map that shows that. There are a lot of resources cited, and most of them are found online. But I thought another thing that was interesting toward the back was the territory maps within the county, the locations of substations, the transmission lines that you see running through the county, and the area, it's like Heartland REMC's coverage map is on one page, Duke's map is on another, I&M's map is on a third, and then actually the Warren, Indiana community has their own electric utility coverage area, and it's shown on the map. But anyway, we wanted to make that available to you just as an overview. I'm not sure to what extent it solves any problems, but it helps me in the sense of, as I'm recruiting companies to think about coming to Huntington, I need to know how much electrical capacity we actually can provide at particular locations. Otherwise, I'm wasting a lot of people's time and energy to go through an exercise of thinking about coming to Huntington. So this is really helpful in that regard.
No, I found really the two pie charts were kind of the most intriguing to me. The electricity use, 48% is industrial, so almost half of our electricity used in the area is industrial. 45% of the generation is coal, the other 39% is natural gas. Wind, I was surprised wind was 10%. Solar's 2%, other gas, I'm not sure, I don't know what that is, 3%. And then hydroelectric is 1%. I didn't even know we had hydroelectric around here, so I just thought that was, those two pie charts really were interesting to me. And, yeah, it's, much like the water, we did a similar water study as well.
We did.
And both those are on the website, right?
But yeah, if you go to hq.com, you'll see a drop-down navigation button that says About Us. And if you click on that, there's an electronic documents library. That's where you'll find a number of our annual reports, or a lot of things on it.
So, but yeah, I thought that was a really interesting report, so I asked Mark to bring that for you guys as well, so.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thanks for your help.
Appreciate it.
Stephanie, are you discussing the wage stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Biggest item, isn't it, for what's left, right?
The first one on the list is for the Highway Equipment Operator 3 to receive certification pay. Now, previously, we did have two employees that had received that certification pay. One does the position primarily with the signs, and the second one is a backup in case they're ill or, if they get more of a need, they don't fall behind. So that was the reasoning behind that first request for the cert pay. And it's not adding headcount or anything, it's just cert pay on an existing equipment operator.
So that's basically $1,100 a year for that
That
cert pay.
sounds right at
Yeah,
$44.
I just took it times 26.
Yeah, if you took the $44 times 26,
Yeah.
yeah.
Roughly $1,100, okay.
And it's already budgeted for, it was budgeted for, right?
Yes, so we would probably have to transfer some money into that. One employee is no longer in our employ, so we did not budget her for, we did not budget that position. There are two in the salary ordinance. Gotcha.
So you still have money to shuffle
Yeah,
anyway, right?
yep, absolutely.
Okay.
That's the mean. Got enough money left, be good.
Do you want me to keep going?
Yep,
Oh, okay.
unless anybody stops you for questions, you guys good to
Just-
move on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next is a series of requests, basically. And so currently you have two full-time facilities managers, one here at the courthouse and one at Victory Knoll. The one here at the courthouse would like to, we expected him to retire. There was some talk from him about that. He decided he would really just like to be a building inspector. And so that'll keep him around a little bit longer. So we've got an hourly rate there that we found comparable to what other similar municipalities were offering. And, in speaking with him, not promising him anything, he agreed that that would be a reasonable rate. And he would earn that hourly rate and maintain his certification pay because that is for the building inspection position that he does. This is also going to allow DCD to implement some additional forms of inspection, like insulation. One was the other one, concrete slabs. So we thought that was good. So with that, we would like to promote the other facilities manager, the remaining facilities manager, to facilities director. And he will oversee all the facilities that the county owns countywide. So that's going to include the jail, the building across the road, and overseeing any projects that the county has in regards to that. And with that, there is an additional ask, which is you currently have a part-time custodian. And she does the annex primarily, and she works at the courthouse some. Currently, Victory Knoll is not being cleaned the way it's supposed to be for the contract with Parkview. So there is a request there to make that position a full-time position. Excuse me. And finally, we are not replacing a facilities manager. You would just not have that position any longer. But currently you have a general facilities person that works at Victory Knoll with Phil. They're going to rotate a little bit more. But, if this is granted, Phil did feel that he would need a second person to help in that rotation. Or maybe to even primarily be at the courthouse. So we felt that in addition to the additional person, we would like to increase that rate to a more competitive rate because of what skilled positions are currently paying in the private sector. Right now that position's at $21.61 and we would like to bump that up to $25 an hour.
So, real quick, just to kind of summarize what Stephanie talked about, Wage and Compensation Committee, items 11, 12, 13, 14. We did our due diligence and did a deep dive into this on all these positions. I think we all came to consensus that we were going to move forward with this with council's approval. The one position would not start until 2026, right?
Correct.
Correct? And just to talk about the facilities manager's position, Phil Hibbert. So currently, he's in charge of Victory Knoll, which is a 50,000 square feet facility, 12 acres and one person. So his level of responsibility would really grow exponentially. He's going to go have a 50,000 square foot facility out there. He's going to take on the courthouse, which is another 50,000 square feet. He's going to take on the annex, which is another 10,000 square feet. He's going to take on the Jones Abstract Building. He's been working on that. We're going to convert that for Department of Community Development and the Surveyor's Office to make more room for the judicial branch here in the courthouse. He's also working with Chris Newton and Chad Hamill on the county jail stuff. And on top of all that, going from one facility to 5 facilities, he's also the tip of the spear for the county on our landfill projects. We've been put on notice from IDEM that we have to do some upgrades on some monitoring wells and some work out there. And Phil's been working with the environmental company and IDEM to address any issues we have out there. So, you know, Phil's kind of the Swiss Army knife of project managers. He knows construction design, HVAC, sewer and water. I mean, he really is a unique individual, and we understand that that's a pretty significant bump, but with Greg stepping down and taking a cut in pay, that will take care of half of Phil's increase. And I think Phil already has saved us some money in a couple different projects. Parkview Behavioral Health has come to us and asked for some improvement in their facilities out there at Victory Knoll. They need some office space converted to some space that's a little more functional. And Phil's done all the design work on that, which we'd have had to pay somebody like DLZ to do the design work. He's done the design work on the abstract building, coordinating the contractors. So he's working with Chris Newton and Chad Hamill on a problem we have with boilers at the jail. He's going to really hold these vendors that come in and repair stuff accountable. I think that's a huge thing, that he knows that they're not going to pull the wool over his eyes and say, you need all new or whatever, you know. So Phil's very well versed in all that stuff. I think it's certainly in all of our best interest to put him in charge of all that, so.
Is he comfortable with the added responsibilities?
He is.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot to chew.
And that's why we're asking for some additional help at the other facilities, you know, some of, like right now with Parkview Behavioral Health, our agreement is to do cleaning every day. And Phil's been actually doing the cleaning himself because we don't have anybody.
Yeah.
You know, so you got a facilities manager cleaning toilets, and that's the type of guy he is. He doesn't matter. He gets the job done. But, so that's why we're asking for some additional help out there. And for somebody like the one individual we have out at Victory Knoll to kind of run the program here. It's a little more, let's say, has a higher skill set than what we have here in the building right now, so. And that position here wouldn't start till 26, so he's gonna come to you and budget for that, so.
Oh, Phil's past jobs, he's saved cities and stuff, tons of money, because you're not gonna get anything past Phil, because he has the experience.
Right, I mean, he's,
Think of the money we've saved probably and would have paid blindly, because how would most of this know?
Well, and I think a lot of the discussion that came up in job class, and Rob didn't touch on it, but I will, is that I think Phil could easily say, some of the requests that they have is he could easily say, that's not my job, that's not my job, that's not my job.
Right.
Whereas he went ahead and did those jobs, and I think by labeling it like this and giving him the expanse that he can work, it is his job, and of course he'll gladly do it either way, but this kind of comes full circle for Phil, I think.
yeah, we just kind of threw that landfill project in his lap and say, hey, IDEM's, you know, send us some letters, can you
He probably said,
Can you
okay,
jump in
I'm
there
looking,
and work
I'll
with the
figure it out.
environmental engineering firm and figure out what we need to do, which
Yep.
saves all of us a whole lot of grief, you know. Chris and Chad, they're not well-versed in making decisions on
Sure.
heating and cooling,
Why
hot
would
water
they?
heaters.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well,
so
I know
you're really at the
tuck
mercy.
points too, don't they? have
What's
some-
that?
Don't they have some tuck points or something that they gotta look at as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Lot of
laundry
things
list
to
of
do.
things, obviously with all these
Yeah, so
facilities.
having
It
somebody that knows what they're talking about. is
needs to
probably-
be addressed, you know, it's like
Yeah,
owning
we
a
had quite
home.
a discussion on it.
Yeah.
So,
I 100% feel as a talented individual. I have some concern, that's a lot of facility to take care of, but that doesn't make me against this, at all. There's a lot, that's a lot of facility, that's a lot of.
It is.
I was a facility manager myself for 20 years, and that's a lot of different responsibility. So he will definitely need this additional maintenance worker, somebody that can work with him and help take some of that load, or he can delegate,
Right.
So,
Yeah, the old axiom, you're only as good as the people you surround
Correct.
yourself with is pretty important here in this piece.
Well, I have great faith in him. I've seen a lot of things he's done, and before he came here. He's always gonna save us money, and he's never gonna get us in trouble with things that shouldn't happen. And that's important. You gotta have that knowledge, and very few people in the country have that kind of knowledge that can do several different things and been involved in all that.
it'd be a tough replacement
Yeah.
if he walked. Yeah, it'd be a tough
So
replacement.
I know Greg took a reduction in pay, but his pay are you gonna need an additional to cover him, or are you covering?
No, I think I have just enough to cover.
You have enough to
my
cover
budget
him,
this
so
year.
we're not looking at anything there.
I don't believe so.
Looking at about 10 grand on the difference.
Yeah, right.
And then, we got about $1,000 on the highway, that's not a
Did
huge
you
number.
have this breakdown in your packet?
No,
Would you like this
I would
breakdown?
love that breakdown.
So I believe, based on my estimate, all in, once you have your additional maintenance person, factoring in benefits, everything, I think that's probably where you're gonna need for an increase. Anything that would be increased.
Jesus. So 137,000 next year?
Total, that's everything in, that's, increased benefits for your custodial and your additional.
That's assuming they take fully loaded benefits
I did based on employee
and spouse.
and spouse. So it's the third highest tier out of 4
Okay.
tiers is what I based.
So
it
that
off of.
might be
It could
somewhat
totally be
inflated.
less.
benefits
Okay.
and all.
Okay. We just, my biggest concern, I talked to Brian a little bit, he filled me in on, but my biggest concern is rolling into next year. If nobody's paying attention to what is going on in Indianapolis. You should be. We just gotta make sure,
Yeah.
we gotta be careful. I'm not arguing with,
Yep.
you guys obviously did your due diligence, you put things together. But we gotta find some savings.
Yeah, we have some concern.
Because it's gonna be, I know I say it's tough every year, next year's really gonna be tough. It's really gonna be tough.
Next 2 or 3 years might be.
Yes, but I worry about 1 year at a time.
Right,
And it's, yeah, property taxes are basically flat. Income is projected to actually go down next year,
Yeah.
so,
Revenue forecast for the whole state's down
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, so we gotta be mindful, obviously, if he can save us some money indirectly with some of the things he's doing with the landfill and some of the other stuff, obviously, those are intangibles that can help this process.
Yeah, we've got a couple issues at the jail. We got a roof that's given us some problems, and he's been working with Chris and Chad on the boiler.
We shouldn't
issue.
have any roof problems.
Well, we should, I mean, yeah, honestly, but you can't ignore the fact that there is a problem, and we gotta address it, so. But at least we're not gonna be at the mercy of somebody that's just
Sure.
gonna come in
Yeah,
and sell
he'll be our-
sell
he'll be our
something that we
fighter.
don't need.
Well, and I'm sure Sheriff Stoffel is glad that he's taken that off of Chris's plate, because when he was sheriff, he had to be the general contractor.
Exactly, so, not their wheelhouse, you know,
Yeah.
they're out there to catch bad guys, so.
So, no, I like the concept. It was a lot to digest. That's why I called Brian ahead of the meeting, because I was like, holy cow, what am
Yeah.
I reading here?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time, a lot of discussion on it, so.
Yeah, and I knew that group does a great job of walking through things.
And
vetting
each
it out.
position kind of worked on
Yeah.
the next position.
He gave me
next
the domino,
position, Yeah.
he gave me the
Yeah.
dominoes, he said, this is kind of all in one.
Yeah, they're all intertwined for sure.
Yep, so, okay,
Thank you, guys.
thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you guys.
Okay,
for the
I'll
info.
entertain a motion to.
Kendall,
Yeah.
before you open it, do you want to discuss the other two items that you're adding?
Oh, yeah, so she sent it, do you want to read the email that you sent us late today? And then we also had a discussion, we're gonna do those under 15A and 15B on the sour ordinance. The first one was the intent, Robin, you can chime in, the intent, when we did the sheriff's salary, you guys put 70% of the prosecutor's pay. That rolled flat into this year. It wasn't caught until the sheriff's contract was written, where actually the prosecutor got an increase, so it should have been a difference of,
The statute says that you have to pay the sheriff a minimum of 60%
Yeah.
of a full-time prosecutor's pay. And we've done that, but in 2024, they requested that the sheriff get paid 70%. So going into 2025 budget, the sheriff's department only requested 125,000. So that's what we assigned as a salary, not realizing it should have been 70%.
because
again.
nobody gave us anything different,
Right,
so.
right, they did not.
So we're just trying to correct that going forward,
So,
correct?
correct, they would like to put that into the salary contract that the lawyer's drawing up so that we don't lose track of that 70%.
Yep.
Because it is up to the county to make that decision. So the attorney's willing to make the change, and what it would do is, even though they requested 125,000 this year, 70% of the full-time prosecutor's pay would be 128,459.10. So they're requesting that we
So they want to
change the
retro,
salary ordinance for that. We'll
retro it.
yeah,
Okay.
retro it. And so that's $3,459.10 difference from what they had originally budgeted. Now, since you are paying him through the PS Lit, he'll also have to come back next month and request for that additional for his pay.
Yeah, as long
Yes.
as, before the end of the year, really.
Yeah, I mean, technically.
Preferably,
I like to say next month while
Yeah,
it's
so we
fresh
don't
on our
forget.
minds, so it doesn't fall off of our radar.
Yep.
But yes.
okay. And then you had another request that she emailed us
Yes,
regarding.
Stephanie and I were working on this as well. The clerk in 2023 came to job class and requested an increase of her employees from 1903 per hour to 2045 per hour. There was no discussion of a supervisory deputy. They had it in the past, but an employee left in 2022, and she didn't put anybody else in that supervisory role, so it kind of stayed on the salary ordinance until they asked for the increase, and then it didn't move forward. But now she would like to implement that designation to one of her current staff members. And so we'd like to put that back into the salary ordinance. Stephanie and I worked on it together to verify what that rate of pay would be. And we came up with $22.37 per hour for that person.
And that's a difference of what to the regular, do
A
we know
difference
that?
of $1.31 per hour.
131 per hour,
Yes.
so.
So we
Couple
would want
grand.
to amend the
Couple
salary
grand.
ordinance and to get that implemented, so when she decides to designate that person, it would be available to use.
Okay, and then we would just figure out on the budget where that lands and where we would need to
Yeah.
manage that, but
'Cause
we
we-
don't need to worry about that right now.
We used to always have that in there. Didn't she have one?
It was
She
in
did.
there.
I thought-
Yeah, it just got lost, so.
Wasn't the one left?
There's so
Yeah,
many
these last
moving
two items
parts
are
at different
Sure.
parts of the
cleanup
year.
stuff
Yeah,
Yeah.
for the most part that were missed.
So not really a big change, just kind of
right,
fix
right.
fix it
It
up.
was an established position.
Sure, I thought it was.
So if everybody understand everything, you don't necessarily have to agree right now, but I will entertain a motion to open the salary ordinance if there's no other questions. Is that a yes, Keith? Motion?
Keith.
Second,
Keith, Brian? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so let's put these things off one at a time. So item 10 The certification pay would be bi-weekly, $44, and that would be effective date of 3/30. So not a full impact of what I said for this year. Any other questions on that? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to
Vote.
approve.
Second.
Brian, second by Keith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oops.
Okay. All right, so facility manager, changing it to an hourly rate of $26.94, also keeping the certification pay of $1,000. Anything else on that we need to add to that discussion?
Effective 4/27.
Effective 4/27/25, yep. So I entertain a motion on that one.
Motion approved.
Terry?
Second, Brian.
Second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Part-time cleaning crew to a full-time at a rate of $19.75, effective 4/27/25.
Motion approved.
Keith?
Second.
Second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. The O'Donnell Facility Manager changing to County Maintenance Director with the annual salary of $87,500, effective 4/27/25.
Motion.
Motion by Shane,
Second.
second by Terry. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. And then the maintenance worker, moving that from $21.61 an hour to $25 an hour, effective 4/27/25.
Motion approved.
Keith,
Second.
second by Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the request for the general maintenance worker for next year, I don't know if we want to put that in the salary ordinance this year,
I
right?
think it's just that they can go ahead and budget for it, that you have that intention.
I mean, the
You
budget
choose-
is the budget. I mean, we can always look at it at that point too, so I guess putting it on the budget is fine, right?
That's fine, I think they just wanted to lay it out to
Okay,
make
so
sure
I'll
that they
entertain a
have
motion
your
on that.
approval.
I'll entertain a motion for that.
Motion.
Shane,
Second.
second by Terry. All in favor?
Aye.
I guess at budget time, everything's up for grabs.
Right, right. But if they haven't.
You can put it
discussed-
on there. It
if they
doesn't
haven't
necessarily mean we're gonna
discussed
approve
it,
it.
Means it's gonna happen.
If they haven't discussed it with you, then it might get lost.
Yeah.
Motion to close salary
No,
orders.
no,
No, got two more.
Got the A and B.
Oh, 15A.
So A and B, so the, item A, let's go with Shelley's request in the clerk's office.
Motion to approve the supervisor deputy pay.
2237, and that can be effective 4/27, right?
Is that
Since she doesn't have
acceptable?
anybody.
Oh,
Huh.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay.
Motion, Brian.
Brian, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Terry, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And then the sheriff's effective 1/1/25, right?
Yes, well, for 2025, yes.
Yeah, so it'd be 1/1/25.
Okay.
So that would be.
Just to
it was
correct that,
$120
$2,000 or whatever,
Yeah.
through
It was
whatever.
128, right? 128 what?
459.10.
459.10 versus the 125, okay. So I'll entertain a motion on that.
Motion.
Shane,
Second.
second by Terry. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Entertain a motion to close.
So moved.
Terry,
Second, Brian.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. That's a little easier than I thought. So the item 17, just discussion. Typically, we've just had everybody budget COLA. Do we even know what COLA is for 26?
It's estimated at 2.3. COLA for 25 was 2.5, estimated for 26 is 2.3. I just seen that, am I right on that?
Projected, yes.
Projected.
So do we want to, we can have them put in 3 for a holding spot. It's harder to go up.
It's kind of what we always been doing a little bit and then see what
Yeah,
happens.
see what happens.
We may not be able to do anything.
Might not be able to do
Yeah,
anything, but.
but
I
we
think
gotta give them
We gotta
something
give them
to
something.
But
put
we
in
gotta
there.
put a placeholder in.
Gotta give
But
them a number
I
in
think-
there, don't we?
Yeah, I think everybody needs to understand that
If we get real tight, we can ask them.
we
ask
need
them
to,
cut
we
their
need to
own
make sure,
budgets.
yeah, we need to make sure that we cut where where we can to make sure that we have room for these increases. So we're gonna need everybody's help on this one, so.
Just a consensus there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay with giving them
Yes,
a
I'll-
3% number
Yes,
to start
yes.
with.
Okay, Keith, you, yes, good?
Kind of get their
Okay,
budget and see
yep,
what
I'm
happens.
good, yep. Okay. Yeah, and we'll see what all shakes out, but
There's no way to know now, is there?
no, no. If you ask me now, I'd be like,
Next week,
Zero.
wait until they do all the finagling that they're gonna do with the budget at the 10:01, so, HB
oh,
10:01.
they still jacking with it?
Oh, yeah, it's not done.
Jesus. I don't know how they can trash it more.
No, well, this is the budget, and so they've got it, they have to have a balanced budget, and so they projected a $2 billion.
Oh, you're talking
short.
House Bill 1001,
Yeah,
that's.
House Bill 1001, yep. So that could affect us too, though.
Sure. Okay, nothing else under new business, right? We covered all
We
that?
covered it, thank you.
Okay, yeah. We'll go down to committees then, community corrections.
The meeting
have
was,
Leslie, did
the meeting was postponed, that we were supposed to have this week.
We had we're early week here, so we're supposed to have it Wednesday, it's been canceled.
She postponed because of just what we were just talking about, because of what's gonna come out in HB 1001 is yet to be seen.
Okay.
So the
So it's
budget,
postponed until,
they didn't say, they're
Okay.
waiting to
We
see
haven't-
what that's
we
gonna
don't
look
have a
like.
date. Yeah, we don't have a date.
That, I'm concerned about that, so. Okay, solid waste, anything, Brian?
Solid waste, just putting a full-time person out at West Park, get that done and kind of get it more of a stationary spot. I think everything's gonna be inside there. Other than that, that's it.
I seen a Facebook post where
Someone a mattress?
some lady went out there and I was taking stuff out there and somebody sat in the car staring at me.
Trying to get him out of the car. That's it.
Okay, anything on 3A, John?
No, nothing. Next meeting's June.
Okay. Anything else on job class? Good job with all that.
No,
Very
we
well
got
covered.
something coming, all
Good
right.
work, good work.
Right now, we don't have anything for May, we do have one for June.
June, okay. Okay. Lace, Shane?
Yeah, we have a meeting today. A couple things. Well, you already know now, we got the drug court graduation coming on Wednesday the
Yep.
7th at 4 PM at the courthouse. We had 18 people at our meeting today for a roundtable. Some of the new things that popped up, there's a thing called Inspect, and it's long and drawn off, but here's the deal. Here's kind of the big thing. We're trying to talk to some lawmakers. Inspect is a thing where, let's say you go to your doctor and you get whatever kind of drugs, and that goes into a database that says, okay, and then as some people that have problems do, then go to another doctor, and then that even can go to psychological drugs and cross and mix. And the way it is now, like some of these facilities that help people with methadone clinics and all that stuff, they don't report right now. So that becomes a big problem for health, because methadone is obviously very, if you got the amount of methadone that you're allowed to be having, then you're gonna put one of these on top of it, that can create an overdose and is. So that's just something to be aware about. It's something we're gonna probably try to talk to some of the state legislators to see if they can get those included where they have to be an inspect too. And it's just an overall thing. It was a long discussion, that just something that's, means I'll say, we're always looking over and trying to make sure bad things don't happen. And sometimes you have to go to the lawmakers and say, hey, add this in, make this happen, or whatever. So that was part of today's thing. And then there's a new, not new, but relatively new in town, counseling services. It's called Renovate. And they've been in town now for 8 or 9 months. And one of their reps came down and had a nice visit with us. And they do all sorts of counseling. They're located down at the Hope Rising Church. They have offices there. And they cover even for people that have insurance that is like government insurance. And a lot of places of those don't take that because they just can't afford to. But so just another nice place in town. We had some really good people that had checked into it and went to some of the doctors and some of the people from court have gone to it. So it's nice that we have another, we're not a great big city, but we're getting things that are helping folks. And we've drawn some people, and they don't always have to make a ton of money. And that's part of it too, because obviously a lot of the people that have the problems don't have a ton of money because of everything else. So that was a little nice talk from that gentleman. And the rest of it was just some normal stuff, so that was it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yes.
Lime City covered
Sure.
that. EMA, anything, Keith?
Nothing.
Okay, Plan Commission, anything?
There was 2 dockets in the plan commission. One of them was out on, both properties being rezoned to general business. Out on Norwich Road, a little piece of property that has been long used for general business. So that made sense, that one, and they needed that because they were getting a business loan and so forth. So it had to be zoned that to do that. The other one was in Markle, actually, some good news from Markle with a possible Dollar General going in and a piece of property being zoned general business.
Oh, really? Oh.
Okay. Jamie's not here for Seed Advisory. HQ, got my talking points, got 6 projects already, about 25 million in investments. We're at 840 million in the 18 years that Mark's been on staff, so thank you, Mark. Got 3 buildings available, one at the old Bendix Pickenup plant, that's what everybody knows it as. One on Sabine, which actually is a Lear building, I worked there. And then you got the Markle Spec building, 200,000, so yeah, not a lot of inventory out there. And then 7 prospects considering River Fork West. Got a new sign out there on River Fork West, if you guys haven't been out there, and we did a review of our financials, nothing was required on adjusting entries. Talked about the Lime City and then the electrical capacity report, so that was HQ. Keith, probably nothing on ABCD?
No.
Tax abatement, anything else, John?
No.
Just what you did today? Great. Jamie's not here.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
gonna
you
go to
went
that
to the
meeting.
warm.
I'm gonna
You're
go to
going to that meeting?
Yeah,
Okay.
coming up
That's
soon.
right.
He had asked me to go to
That's
that.
what
Yep,
Jamie
I
could
remember
reach
that.
it.
Yep. And then, health insurance, how we doing, Keith?
Nothing.
Nothing? EMS, Jamie's not here. No meeting for dispatch. Anything on internal controls? We got State Board of Health Accounts coming in, right, Jill?
Yep, I'm just waiting to hear from them.
Okay.
They'll be here.
Anything on redevelopment, Terry or John?
We had a meeting and we went over the annual reports that are required, and then we discussed some residential tips that still might happen.
Okay. And then, anything down in Markle?
Nope, nothing.
Okay. Nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Keith, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Meeting adjourned.